Zinc is another one that is, I'm not going to say under discussed, but it's just something that again, when you get into talking about minerals, because there's so many of them, it's one of those that I think is actually underrated. It's much more important than we give it credit for. And if you're not eating certain foods, you probably aren't getting enough. Why is zinc so important?
Zinc is, yeah, I will agree with you that it's very underrated. Zinc is, wow, okay, we're seeing that it's imperative for testosterone function in men, and also how how testosterone can be received by a receptor, which I'll explain in a second. Very, very important for the immune system. Very important when it comes down to reactive oxygen species kind of regulation, so antioxidant kind of regulation within the body. It's sort of this mystery mineral, right? We're slowly discovering more and more ways that it is applicable to daily life. The amount of zinc that we store in the cerebral cortex portion of our brain is pretty phenomenal. Normally, you see minerals kind of spread throughout different regions of the brain, not evenly, but just fairly dispersed. Well, zinc is, for the most part, almost all in the cerebral cortex, which is our area of like higher thinking, like the hippocampus. And so that's very indicative of, okay, clearly we're seeing zinc is involved in some levels of like higher cognitive thought, right? Just higher levels of thinking, spatial working memory, everything like that. So just starting to scratch the surface. One of the things that I think is most fascinating about zinc, and unfortunately you have to kind of tread lightly with how you talk about this, but its relationship with the immune system. Okay, there are these things called granulocytes, and these are types of immune cells that when you first have a pathogenic bacteria or a pathogen of some kind entering in your body, these types of immune cells immediately go and they sort of engulf it. They engulf the pathogen. Well, then the next step, what people don't always understand is that the next step involves reactive oxygen species, oxidative stress, which normally we think of as a bad thing. But when we're sick or we're dealing with something, we need a certain degree of that to come in and actually fight the infection. So what these, essentially zinc is playing a huge role in regulating the reactive oxygen species from coming in and attacking the pathogenic bacteria. And when I say regulating, it actually puts a ceiling on how much reactive oxygen species we actually sort of create. So for example, let's say I got an infection of some kind. Okay, that infection comes in, these immune cells go and they attack it. Okay, then the secondary response is, okay, we'll trigger some forms of reactive oxygen species to go attack it. Well, without zinc, the body might just create a bunch of reactive oxygen species to just attack it. It's like putting a nuclear bomb on something that you might have just needed a 22 caliber rifle for. It's like, so then you're getting this huge inflammatory response, huge attack on the body that you didn't need. So zinc puts that ceiling, so it helps corral the immune system, because what people don't often realize is the symptoms you feel when you get sick, that is your immune system doing the job. And the more symptoms that you have, a lot of times it's an overactivity of the immune system. So zinc that's just my favorite characteristic of zinc, because people don't think about it like that. They don't think about the fact that this reactive oxygen species that's normally touted as a terrible thing, actually, when controlled, is a very good thing.